Welcome to the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I'm Coach Lisa Callahan, a recovered emotional eater. I ended decades of self-inflicted struggles with food through taking a journey of self-discovery, which revealed the secrets of what was going on underneath the food. Throughout this podcast, we'll explore topics that are rarely talked about, like low self-esteem, lack of confidence, people-pleasing, and decades of self-sabotaging behaviors. Rather than just focusing on the food, we'll dive deeper into aspects of who you are as a person and how you ended up relying on food for comfort to begin with. My mission is simple: to empower women to regain their confidence and prioritize self-love, regardless of the number on the scale. Discover what you've really been craving, and trust me, it's not about the food. This podcast is based on insights shared from the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group on Facebook, so be sure to check out the show notes for the link to the group and a complimentary gift just for you. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome to another fun and insightful episode of the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. The topic today is how to enjoy the holidays without overeating. Yes, my friends, this is an amazing topic because it is November right now, and it doesn't matter when you're listening to this, those darn holidays come throughout the entire year. So it's November. We have the US holiday Thanksgiving coming up next week. And then after that, you know what happens in December. So I don't know about you, but my stomach used to start going into an absolute pit every single time October came around because, well, actually for me, it may have even started in September because that's when my birthday is. So it was like September was my birthday, then October was Halloween, and then right after that came, Thanksgiving, and then all the December holidays, and it was just like a whirlwind. And for me, I always had that January 1 goal, and I started doing that when I was a little kid. It was something that I was taught. It was like, what's your New Year's resolution? And so I thought that you were supposed to make one. And I remember being about, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old, and I was already going to the gym and working out. And I remember the New Year's resolution, and I kind of put together like my childhood knowledge of what a New Year's resolution is with now my independence. And I thought, wow, I can make my own New Year's resolution. Because I was working out and I asked other people, what's your goal? Oh, my New Year's resolution is going to be to stop eating chocolate. My New Year's resolution is going to be to lose 10 pounds. There was so many New Year's resolutions that were very simple-minded, honestly. They were childlike. And I thought that that was what we were supposed to do. Like I actually had it in my head that we were supposed to make a New Year's resolution and that it had to be about something hard and that it had to be about something that we couldn't normally do, that it had to be different. So for me that year, and it was probably back in 1987, I made a New Year's resolution that I was going to lose 10 pounds. And so I started to eat up until January 1. And it was like there was almost like a door closing in my mind. And I kept thinking, all right, this is the last time I'm going to be able to eat chocolate. This is the last time I'm going to be able to eat sugar. This is the last time I'm going to be able to eat a cookie. And I know that if you've ever felt like that, it's just like it sounded coming out of my mouth. It was like chaos. And I felt that chaos because it definitely didn't feel like it was, kind and organized and, easy. It seemed like I was running away from some type of a train that was about to hit me and I was going to fall on the track and it was just going to run me over. And that's the only way that I can describe it. It felt like there was a speeding bullet train coming my way, and I better get all of the stuff that I want now because I'm not going to have any later. So if you've ever experienced an all or nothing mindset, this is what it is. And when I think back to how did that start, I really do tie some of it into a New Year's resolution because that New Year's resolution made it really easy for me to binge eat and then to be able to promise myself something that was absolutely and completely unrealistic, like I'm going to give up chocolate forever. And yet, because that promise of the New Year's resolution was in my mindset, that created what's called a limiting belief. And the limitation, it's limited, means that it's just a really small piece of the picture. It's not, you're not seeing the whole picture. So to my very immature mindset, and don't forget, I knew what a New Year's resolution was already from the time I was a little girl. And then I tied it into my just becoming a bit independent 15, 16-year-old self, and then made a really realistic decision from my very immature mind. So in Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, which is our signature program where we coach women on how to take a journey of self-discovery, what this is called is a frozen emotion. And it's an immature frozen emotion. So basically a version of myself who decided on that very day when somebody asked me, hey, what's your New Year's resolution? And I started to realize that other people were making weight goals. I thought, oh, that's a great idea. But it also gave me this permission to just eat whatever I wanted until I got to that goal, because I had this future promise for myself, but it was really unrealistic and very immature. So on that day that I created that mindset, an event occurred. And that event was that I knew that I was allowed to make a New Year's resolution. And then from that event occurring, I made a decision on how I wanted to feel. I felt excited. I thought, oh, wow, this is finally it. Like, I don't have to eat, cardboard rice cakes every day, because I was already dieting at that age. So I thought, wow, if I can just promise myself that New Year's Eve will be the last bite of chocolate, then everything's going to be great. Like, I made an unrealistic expectation of myself. So when that happened, the event occurred. I created a belief from that event that this is exciting. This is how you do things. And it created this decision for myself that life has to be all or nothing. That really is parts of how my systematic approach to weight loss was really for the next 30 years. Honestly, like, it started on that day. And so start to think back in your memory, like, you weren't born with feeling, this angst about holidays coming. Like, in fact, it probably was an exciting time, when everything was around and there was all this sweets out, and, you could have cookies and chocolate milk or hot chocolate, whatever. Like, things have happened in your life that have been holiday based, that have been really fun and exciting. The thing is, though, is that now the very same thing isn't working well because it's created this thought process that we have to be afraid of something. And it's like, oh no, I can't trust myself. The holidays are coming. And so that's where I took a tailspin, because when I created that idea that this New Year's resolution was going to be here soon, and that was going to be this amazing time that I was going to suddenly like flip a switch and like I was no longer going to ever eat chocolate again. But then the beforehand was that whole leading up to it part where I was like, I can eat whatever I want. Woohoo, I'm off the hook. That limiting belief came to me year after year after year after year. So let me know if you feel the same way. And you can do this really easily by sending me a private message. Send me a DM or a PM or whatever on Facebook or on Instagram, or even here in the chat if you're watching on any of these channels. Just send me a message and let me know that you know how I feel too. Because it doesn't feel great when you feel like you're the only one that's experiencing this. And honestly, even if other people are experiencing this, like, even if you have other people that that get really, nervous around the holidays or feel like, oh, I'm not going to be able to trust myself, like, even if they're experiencing that, it still doesn't change the decisions that you're making for yourself. It actually doesn't help at all to know that other people are in that same space, because no matter what happens, when you're emotionally eating, you're the only one that's doing the actual, like, putting the food into your mouth. So it doesn't matter if your friend is putting food into her mouth or if your partner can push away a piece of cheesecake. Like, it literally doesn't matter. It's just you and you. And if you're battling against an immature, younger minded version of yourself, then that becomes a real problem because for decades, I just like, it was like the holidays would start and that younger, immature version of myself would kind of click into my head. And then suddenly it was this mad dash to New Year's that started in September, October. And so the whole time I was going towards that New Year's, it felt like there was a bullet train speeding. I felt like I had to get, everything into my mouth before that happened, because that was going to be the time that I was going to go on this radical diet. And it's an interesting piece because that, was like a floodgate opening. And then I had to be very conscientious of my weight because I was a personal fitness trainer. So at that time, then I had to kick up my exercise. And so that way I wouldn't show the pounds that I could have potentially been putting on from eating all of these, my gosh, like best thing I've ever gone to in my entire life is one of those cookie exchanges. I'm like, wow, we get to go around and we get to eat, 30 women walk into a room and each one has cookies. And like, this is like, we're allowed to walk around and eat these cookies. Oh my gosh. And then we can take them home. Woo. Right. And so it was this like excitement and enchantment, but all of it was coming on the heels of a promise that as soon as that January, 1 came, that it was all going to be over. It was like, that's it. Time to shut the door. And so I felt like during this holiday season that I had a get out of jail free pass. And yet that seems like a really sad thing now when I think about it. Why did I want to stay in jail all the time? Why didn't I want to be free all the time? And so I want to introduce you to a little exercise that we do in Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, because a lot of times people think that they have to stay in this all or nothing mindset, and it is so damaging. I used to pride myself in being able to control myself during certain times because I felt like I could flip into that all, and then that gave me permission to be in the nothing. So a lot of women that come to work with me, they start off telling me that they want to be in control of themselves. Now, during this holiday time, it's a really easy way for you to say, I'm too busy now. I can't be in control of myself right now. So it doesn't even matter anyways, because right now all bets are off because I'm too busy and I'm too focused on other things, and I've got to worry about getting, my kids and the grandkids and the nieces and nephews and the cousins and the whatever's sisters and everybody their gifts, and I can't have that, control right now. So like everything's out of control. And the thing is, and that's why I wanted to bring this topic today, because if that's your goal, if your goal is to want to be in control, and then during this holiday season, you just convince yourself that it's just like, now you can't. So you give yourself permission to be out of control. I want to really give you like an overview of why this is so dangerous and why you're going to want to change your method of thinking about this right away. So I want you to do something now. If you're not driving, take a piece of paper and write the word control and then the word freedom. You're going to write them one on top of another. And if you've heard this in other trainings, it's totally fine. You're just going to apply them to this topic that we're talking about today. So you have your word control and you have your word freedom, and they're on the same side of the page, one on top of the other. And then you're going to draw a line down the middle. And then next to that, you're going to write the word love and you're going to write the word fear. And I want you to match now. I want you to look at the word control and look at the word freedom, and then look at the word love and look at the word fear. And I want you to match like which two match up. Does control match with love, or does control match with fear? Does freedom match with love, or does freedom match with fear? You choose. I'll give you a minute to do that. And while you're doing that, I want you to really think about all of the thoughts that you might have rolling around in your head that maybe are leading you to the fear side of the coin. Like, I need to lose weight. That's a fear-based thought. like I'm never going to get to my goal. Like I'm not going to ever be able to be one of those people who doesn't have cookies calling their name. And even that term, cookies are calling my name, that's a fear-based thought. It makes you feel powerless. It makes you feel helpless. It makes you feel out of control. It makes you feel like you have no say in your own life. You are going to feel like you cannot change anything. And that's a very dangerous place to be. So now that we have your answer, I'm hoping that you chose that freedom was with love and that control is with fear. So now you see if you have a goal of being in control and you're stuck in an all or nothing mindset, and these holidays are just like triggering your all or nothing mindset to come out, in full force like mine used to, because of that belief that I had when I was a kid that I got to choose a New Year's resolution, and that my New Year's resolution was going to be weight based. And so that is how that all started. And so, with that limitation and with that belief in my head, then everything around the holiday times just gave me permission to put myself in that all or nothing mindset. And if you're in an all or nothing mindset, my friend, you are living in a fear based goal. So think about, again, the word control, and think about how it is matched up with fear and freedom is matched up with love. So many of us feel like we will never be able to be free, like we wouldn't ever be able to walk into a room or a candy store or a gas station for that matter and not instantaneously be like pulled towards the Kit Kats or towards the brownies in the house or whatever. Like it's just that every time you think like, ooh, it's in the house, I have to eat it. And then you feel like you're going to go eat it and then you're going to be out of control. So it seems like it would be a really smart thing to have a goal be to be in control. But at the same time, if you think about it really clearly, if your goal is to be in control, it's only because you feel like you'll never be free. And that doesn't seem like a really good idea to me. I mean, it used to. It just doesn't seem like a good idea anymore. So if your goal is to be in control of yourself, the only reason why anybody would have that goal is if they were already out of control. So in order to achieve your goal, you have to start from a place where you're first out of control. That doesn't make sense. Why would you want to do that? So we have to be able to have a bigger picture here, and we have to be able to decide for ourselves where we want to apply our emotional energy and what it is that we want to get out of this. So we're talking again about holidays, right? And like, how do we enjoy the holidays without overeating? How do we simplify things? How do we make it so that way we can spend time with our relatives? We can enjoy the hustle and bustle of the season, and we can relax and just be ourselves, even in the presence of sweets. I want you to remember that those sweets have absolutely no power over you. They don't. It's not a mutual relationship. And I really want you to think about that. Write that down for yourself. Is it logical to think that a brownie or a cookie or a piece of pizza is speaking to me? I really want you to think about this, because the feeling is not mutual. The feeling that's coming from a pizza, the feeling that's coming from a cookie or a brownie, that thing does not have any feelings. So it can't be mutual. And yet we say these things like it's real, and it's not real. And I didn't know that either. So I want to show you how you can relax and just be yourself, even in the presence of these sweets, because they are not talking to you. I want to inspire you to get curious about why food is the first thing on your mind. It's not thinking about you. Why are you thinking about it? How are you telling yourself that you're using it to escape your thoughts when honestly, that's not even true? You know that you could eat yourself into an absolute nausea, and those things that you were still thinking about before, they're still there. They didn't go away at all, period. And you know that. And so that's just an illogical state of mind, which we call a subconscious intention. When you have a subconscious intention that is going to lead you towards a feeling that you'll have about yourself that you will get after you tell yourself that food's calling your name, after you tell yourself that you can't control yourself, after you tell yourself that you're so busy that you can't even think about anything, that will lead you towards a feeling. And that feeling is coming from your subconscious mind. So this training is so important because we are all hardwired for human connection. That is a quote from Brené Brown. So if you're thinking about food all the time, you're going to miss opportunities to connect with people. And if you're sitting there worrying in your head about things that, you might not even be able to change for other people, and that is a contamination of your mindset, all that's going to do is isolate you and separate you from what you really want, which is just to feel love and belonging. And that's what everybody wants. So if you're thinking that food is your friend, you will not prioritize connecting with the people that you love. And then this holiday season, the importance of it will just be to stay in control of yourself, which is a fear-based goal. So all you'll be doing is getting a really, really awful dose of fear. I know that sometimes that social stress can be debilitating. I definitely had that myself. I felt like I was always worried about what other people were thinking about me, what I would say, what it would look like, what I would look like. I was not only watching myself and what I was eating, I was watching what other people ate. I was like, oh, maybe they didn't take as many bites as I did. I wonder if they're thinking something about me. And I would stress about it. What that did was it made me feel very lonely, even in a room full of people. So there's a big difference between aloneness and loneliness. Aloneness means that you are present, you are alone. And yet, in your own presence, if you're staying connected with yourself, and if you're having your whole heart put together, you're wholehearted, meaning that you are staying in alignment with your integrity, you're not using food or anything else to hurt yourself, you have confidence within, and not outward confidence like you're going to walk into a room and go tabletop dancing, not that, just confidence to be able to accept yourself just the way you are, to be whole and undivided, to have integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing even if nobody's watching. And that means for you. So that means that when you get a little baggie of cookies to take home and you say, I want to take them home, take them home. If you eat them in the car like I used to, then that's going to be a betrayal of your integrity. And that way, if you are betraying your integrity all the time, you're going to be feeding into these limiting voices, these past versions of yourself. And so that's how you'll get caught in that fear-based mindset. And that's how you'll get away from being free from your food thing. So this training is really important because you have to be able to open your mindset up, because if you don't, like I said, you'll end up isolating yourself. It'll end up being a you against them. And then when you're in these social situations through the holidays, because I want to bring into a lightheartedness that holidays are stressful. There's a certain date. You got to get everything done by that date. Everything has to look like the commercial on TV. People have a feeling of goodness and wholeness because of family. But at the same time, what if your recipe doesn't turn out right? What if they're out of eggs at the supermarket and you have a cake to bake? What if there's so many obligations and expectations that come along with the holiday season that can really shift you into a fear-based, narrow mindset. And so we want to prepare you to be able to give yourself a bit of clarity of what this holiday season is all about, because I want you to be able to not lose touch with your ability to connect with others and not to lose touch with your intuition. You already know what to eat, how much to eat, how little to eat. You know what feels best for your body. You know if you've had 3 cookies and somebody offers you a fourth, and even if it's the homemade recipe by great grandma Betty. If you don't want that, you're allowed to say no. I was just out of town with my son this weekend, and we went to this little country shop, and they had all these farm animals, and it was so sweet. And they had these little gingerbread cookies, and we had he offered me one. He said, "Here you go, Mom." And I took it and I said, "Oh, thank you." And I took it and I almost put it to my mouth like right away. And then I was like, "Oh, wait, I don't actually want a gingerbread cookie right now. I don't want one. Like, I don't want one." We had a friend that I went to visit in Richmond, Virginia, and I watched her do a marathon, and she baked all this like amazing baked goods for us. So I had for a few days already a couple of pieces of this apple uh, delicious, this delicious apple. I don't know if it was like a Danish or what you would call it, a little apple cake that she had made, and some carrot muffins that she had made. And so I had, a bite of this, a bite of that. I had already had a few things over a few days, and I don't really like ginger that much. I mean, it's okay. The past version of me would have eaten it just because he gave it to me. And now I was able to I took it. I said, "Thank you." I decided I didn't want to have it. And then when I saw him a few minutes later, I said, "I don't actually want this cookie. So would you like it?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So what I used to do versus what I do now is I'm just my authentic self. I don't think about it at all. I'm not like, "Oh, I shouldn't eat this or I shouldn't eat that." I just listen to whatever I want. Those apple strudel things and whatever, they ended up coming home with me. So it's not like they were there and I had to eat them all. And that's really what I want to get across here is the lead up to this one day, this one holiday, or this holiday season being so overwhelming. You'll end up losing touch with your instincts, like your natural intuition. You know what you want. And so thinking that you don't have that inside of you, and that just because there's a cookie in the room, it has to call your name. You have to eat it. If it's in your hand, it's got to fall into your mouth. That's not true. Period. End of story. And I understand your concerns about it if you feel like it's true. It's just that it's not. It's a limiting belief. And so being able to have clarity as to what it is that you're wanting to experience from this holiday season is going to be a very organic picture. So that way you can know that your only goal is to stay aligned with your intuition and your integrity. Make certain that you recognize with awareness what that means, because if you're foggy about it or unclear, then it's going to be like driving down the road with a foggy windshield. If you think that going into the holidays is about food, my friend, I want you to rethink that. So if you don't have a clear understanding of what your holiday season truly means for you, then you're going to be in a foggy state, and then you're going to overeat because you're going to be ignoring your innate mechanisms that tell you what to eat and what not to eat. And that's going to be really important for you. So think about when you were born and you were given a bottle and you were given, I don't know, something, peas, carrots, whatever. Like, you were able to choose what you wanted. If you were full, you were not going to drink more of that bottle. It just wasn't going to happen. So you have an intuition, you have an instinct from birth about your decisions of what you want to put into your body. And it doesn't mean just because the holiday season clicks on that suddenly that's going to be going away. As adults, we've added an extra layer of the concept of eating because we associate it with foods that are satisfying to our taste buds instead of just to our hunger. If your mind is confused about this, then you're not going to be able to think clearly, and you're going to be going to those subconscious intentions, the ones that will lead you to feel horrible about yourself later. So whatever you're eating during this holiday season, make certain that you're thinking about what you're going to feel like the next day when you wake up. When you wake up and you're like, "Ooh, I do not feel good. I have indigestion. I've got heartburn. I've got, stomach pains, gas pains, whatever." And it's because you like turned off your human mechanism. So you pushed beyond it, right? You forced your human body to ingest more than it can tolerate. And remember, you're a human being. So what you're going to end up doing is harming yourself. So that's self-sabotage. So as you're through this holiday season and you're nervously munching and crunching, or the food's just there and it's calling your name, it's falling into your mouth, all that stuff, just make certain that you redirect your focus towards your loved ones. Have a conversation with somebody. Connect, make eye contact. The first thing that your mind goes to when you walk in the room, if it starts looking at all the food and right away you start to feel some type of an isolation, start to connect with people. Do everything that you can to make this holiday season about friends, family, and self. Because if not, you're going to take your emotional energy and you're going to be applying it to the very same thing that is going to harm you. And that takes a lot of mental energy, because you're going to have to apply these unbelievable, never ending calculations on trying to figure out, like, what am I eating? What am I not eating? What did I eat? What didn't I eat? And then it takes away so much of your energy because there's a lot of background noise. If you're entering into this holiday season, even on a diet, because you can't trust yourself, think about the message that that's sending you. I cannot be trusted. Therefore, I have to go on a diet. I've got to lose 5 pounds before the holiday season so that then I can overeat. What type of a message is this sending to you? Right? And if the food is dominating all your thoughts, then it's going to drain all of your energy reserves. So when you have this feeling and it makes you feel worried about things, then when you do overeat, which you might during the holidays, it's if there's a buffet around, you're going to taste a little of this and a little of that. So have the ability to be able to be kind to yourself and to know that that's not going to happen every single solitary day. And yet today, that is the way it is because there is a holiday. So it's not like you're going to ever say, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that. You're going to say, I want to eat what I want to eat. And I also want to stay connected with myself enough to be able to be okay saying, I think I'll pass on that. And then not feeling left out, not feeling resentful, not feeling like I've got to get it all now because tomorrow I'm going to have to go on that diet again. So just think of the possibilities that you can enjoy and experience if you want to break through this fear. Because if you think about all of the things that you're focusing on and all of the energy that you're applying towards the decision that you don't want to eat something during the holidays, like how much additional energy are you taking away from the fulfillment of joy in your life? In Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, there's something that we talk about called primary foods and secondary foods. Now, primary foods are not food at all. So I want you to get that out of your head right now. Primary foods are joy, love, connection, self compassion, energy, spirituality, belonging, kindness, confidence. Those are primary foods. Because if you have the power inside of yourself already, you're not going to give it away to food. Like food is just an afterthought. Food is like secondary. That's why it's called secondary foods. So primary foods, secondary foods. Secondary foods are what you put into your mouth. And so if obsessing about food steals away your precious primary food, your primary food is your self-care, your self-love. If you're stealing away, if like those two things are backwards, if your food that you're putting in your mouth is primary, and your joy and love and acceptance and vulnerability and compassion and kindness and empathy and energy for yourself is secondary, then you're going to get trapped in a cycle of anxiety and dissatisfaction. Once you shift your energy away from food towards yourself, you can unlock a newfound freedom because you'll be able to have vitality. You'll be able to feel like energized and powerful and purposeful and connected and energetic and amazing. And that positive state will have a significant change in your mindset, and it'll impact your social interactions. It'll enhance the quality of the time that you spend with others. Because if you're sitting there and you're thinking every minute, like, all right, how do I sneak another piece without anybody watching? Or if you're sitting there and you've got a plate full of food and you're worried about if other people are going to think that you're overeating. And so you don't do it then because you're going to stay in control of yourself. But then you take those leftovers home and now you're eating like you're in a trough, just like shoveling it in. Emotional eating, stress eating, it's not pretty. I mean, I've been in circumstances where I have been just running around the house, shoving things in my mouth. There's crumbs falling all over the place. This is not when I want like candid camera to come out, right? And so I want you to be able to think about how you eat when you're alone and how you eat with others. And is there a betrayal of your integrity when you're eating alone? So that way, even if that Thanksgiving dinner comes back to your house and in your car, that you're not going to be like shoveling things, there's not going to be cornbread falling all over your car seats, right? That you're going to be able to have it in the car, take it home, put it in the refrigerator, eat it whenever, not in the middle of the night, right? Like that's going to betray your integrity because then you're going to wake up in the morning and you'll be like, oh no, what did I do? So we have to be able to have this level of awareness. So that's what's going to help you to take inspired action. When you get this constant fixation on food, you want to be a source of inspiration for yourself. You want to also, believe it or not, you want to be an inspiration for others. When you're focusing on your energy on other people, it feels good. Now, I know that a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now have been people pleasers. And you might think, well, Lisa, my energy is always focused on other people. And I understand that part. Yet at the same time, the energy that I want you to value is the energy for yourself. That way, you're being able to enjoy other people's energy instead of thinking that you have to do something for them, which that can be draining and exhausting. So I want you to start to adopt a more mindful approach to how you're treating yourself. What are you going to be doing for yourself to adopt a new belief system about what your part is in this family season? Are you just the baker? Are you the one that's got to take care of everything? Do you ask for help? Are you taking on too much? Like, where is your perhaps boundaries not being set into a clear place? You can write this down. Clear is kind. So are you doing too many things and then going to feel a lack of energy that's going to make you want to overeat during this holiday season simply because that's always been your role? Does everybody just sit around at the couch or outside on the patio while you're inside washing all the dishes and cleaning everything up? Like, what's your role here? And how can you shift that energy so that way you can start to change things for yourself? That way you won't feel focused on lack and you won't feel like eating your emotions after that. So when you're no longer burdened by this whole mental noise that's going on in the back of your head and food's no longer some type of a lifeline for you, your positive energy will become contagious. And when you ask for things that you maybe think that you're supposed to do alone, you're going to be surprised that people will, they just want to know what you want. And you might say, I don't want any help. I can do it all by myself. But is that same habit going to be the one that's also going to lead you to feeling exhausted? And then when everybody goes home at midnight, now you're rummaging around in the leftovers simply because you didn't ask for help. So where are your intentions may be mismatched from what it is that's going to be the most purposeful thing for you? And how can you stay present? I used to stay away from everybody. It was like I was the maid or something. I went, around, and I had to take care of everything. Everything had to be done my way. The guests came in, you sit down, I'll take care of everything. I put all the food out, I packaged it up. When everybody was enjoying, I was cleaning. Like, it was like I was a hired help. And I did that because I had this fear, again, going back to that fear in the beginning. I had this fear that things weren't going to be perfect. And then I felt that maybe if they weren't perfect, then they, my guests, would judge me for having things not turn out perfectly. So basically what happened is that I had such a fear, and I had that all stuffed into the beautiful title of perfectionism. I wanted everything to be perfect so that everybody could have exactly what they wanted. And all of that was so exhausting that by the end of the night, I mean, when everybody went home, I would have the biggest feast ever. But the thing is for my subconscious intention, that was the goal. Like, I knew that if I did all of these things, it was like the reward was after everybody left, when I could just sit there and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat by myself. But the thing is that I isolated myself the whole time to begin with. And honestly, nobody knew how to help me. How could they? I pushed them away, in a very polite, just you go sit down, you relax, I'll take care of everything. Well, that was all the setup that was going to get me sitting on the couch at midnight, eating and eating and eating and eating, and then feeling like I had just, basically stabbed myself in the back. And that was the setup for it. So we teach all about this in Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System. And the way that we teach it is by allowing you to see the difference between your conscious intentions and your subconscious intentions. Your subconscious intentions are always going to lead you to a result that you didn't want. My conscious intention on that beautiful evening that I had all the guests over was to share with the family, to open my home up, to have connections, and to have love and joy and peace and happiness in my home. And I loved that. What I ended up getting was a version of me that was exhausted, terrified that maybe people didn't even like what I had out. I was ruminating about conversations. Did that go well? I don't know. Then I would be annoyed with certain people in the house that didn't do something that was maybe, I don't know, appreciative enough of what I had done. It was a lot of mishmash in my head, and it didn't allow me to be present. People didn't know what I wanted. I became so super in my ways, superhuman, that I was really, really, really trying so hard to be super, which made me extremely unrelatable and less human than anybody in the room. And I prided myself in this. And that was all a fear-based goal. And so this plan of action didn't uplift or inspire anybody, including myself. All it did was damage my relationships, and all it did was isolate me, separate me, and honestly, it made me feel pretty depressed, because at the end of the night, there I was with me and my glorious food. And you know what? It didn't feel that good. So my intention to have all this beautiful connection really was just minimized to nothing by the end of the evening. So that's how I know that my subconscious intention was the setup of all the planning and all the, energy that I applied to all of that stuff with the very perfect mindset that I had. I know that all of that was just meant to land me on that couch at midnight after everybody was home. And this happened, honestly, year after year after year. So the bottom line is that you are not in a position here, because I used to feel like, oh my gosh, if I could just survive the holiday season, I just want to survive. I want you to shift your mindset away from survival mode, and I want you to go into thriving mode. So if you can shift from how am I going to survive the holidays into I want to thrive in the holidays. And I really want you to use the word want, because want is a really adult word. A lot of times people will feed in the word need, kind of like, oh, I just need to control myself. I need to go on a diet. I need to count my calories. I need to get rid of this food in the house. I cannot keep this in here. No freaking way. If the word need is more of a child's word, it's more desperate. It's more, I can't do it myself. I don't know what to do. I'm helpless. If you shift it into the word want, that will help you to energetically decide for yourself what you want. And what I want you to do for this holiday season is I want you to have self-compassion. If you do find yourself eating because somebody baked, like my friend the other day baked all these apple things, whatever, that's not like what I eat every day. And yet for 4 days, I ate that every day. And it was really good. I didn't overeat it. I didn't eat four of them at the same time. I would have a bite of one and it was delicious, absolutely delicious. So when you're in that space where you are going to be surrounded by more food and you are going to be kind to yourself, allow yourself to experience life with people. Make certain that you ask for what you want. Really say, I delegate. I want this. I want that. I want your help. Make certain that you're clear with your words, clear as kind. And remember that the goal of being in a social situation, holidays, family, is just to experience connection, joy, and inspiration to do something different and exciting. It's not like it is every day, right? It is exciting. It's just that if you make it in that all or nothing way, like I did for the January 1, I made a mistake by doing that because I put so much pressure on myself to have that holiday be perfect and everything be exactly the way it was supposed to be. And I also compared it to commercials, to television shows, to, movies that are about the holiday and what it's supposed to look like. And so anytime that you're comparing, anytime that you have unrealistic expectations, anytime that you feel burdened by this weight on your shoulders of everything have to be perfect, then you're always going to be on that fear side of the coin. And when you're in that fear-based mindset, because you have all of these expectations and you have all of these perfectionism things, then it's going to make the holidays feel so overwhelming that you're not going to be able to align with what it is that you want, which is really just connection, joy, and inspiration to do something different and exciting. So I want you to focus on the power that lives within you, so that way you will not be hungry for anything else. And remember, have fun. All right, we'll see you next time. And again, as always, we always have some opportunities in our show notes. So in the show notes, you're going to see a bunch of different opportunities for you to grab links to work with me. There's always the mindset makeover that you can go ahead and grab, as well as always like a little inspiration for you. And if you want to reach out to me, again, you can always find me on social media at Coach Lisa Callahan, or you can email me at lisa@coachlisacallahan.com. All right, I will see you next time. Bye for now. All right, my beautiful friend, that brings us to the end of another episode from the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening today and took something from our conversation that you are going to put into immediate action. I love spending time with you and would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with at least one friend today who you think might be struggling too. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any other amazing topics. And please, please do leave me a review. It would mean the world to me. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.